talk about embracing serenity. It all starts from a transformation for everyone, right? For me too, it started from this beautiful transformation from feeling totally overwhelmed to feeling peace, at calm, at the state of rest in my own mind. And that's how embracing serenity was born in a very, very short and crisp manner. So what I want to tell you today is, let's go a bit deeper and find out, how did the transformation happen? How did the journey happen? How did it all start? What motivated me? What is it behind the scenes of this, and so on. So looking back a little bit, it started by the end of summer, let's say, I was feeling completely out of place. I had everything. I have no complaints. I literally have no complaints, but I was feeling a little out of place. Meaning, I was not somehow connected to myself, the things that I do, the place that I live in. Everything in my daily life felt so disconnected. And if you've followed me in quite some time, I'm completely a person who's deeply in gratitude with what I have, deeply in connection. Everything around me usually makes sense. But by end of summer, I soon realized I'm happy, and I'm actually glad that I realized it by end of summer, that I was not connected to anything that I was doing. And this is totally first time for me, right? It's a complete new, brand new experience. So far, whatever I've done has always been deeply connected, emotionally connected. I felt the need for it. I've loved it. I've given my whole 100 to 100% into everything that I do. But suddenly things changed. Well, I think it was not a sudden change. It was a change that happened over a few months, with moving houses, new places, new job, new things to do. And I think it's normal for everyone to go through this change. But sooner or later, the lucky part for me is that I realized it even before it went worse. So that was a beautiful part about the whole journey. It was not too late, it was not too long time, and I realized it by end of summer. But the best decision that I made over there was to embrace the feeling that I have. That's important, right? That's what has been taught to me as a child, that I should embrace every feeling that I go through, give value to it, make sense of it, absorb it, take moments to understand what it means to you, how it impacts yourself, and how does it impact in your surroundings. And that's exactly what I did. Looking back, I could imagine how overwhelmed I was with everything around me. I have no complaints. I had everything with me. I had a good job, I had family, I still have family, I still have the job. Nothing much has changed. But it was just me who was feeling out of place. And hence, I decided, let's go through the transformation. Let's go through the transformation using my expression. And for me, expression is art. I feel the language that we have is completely limited, and I do need another source of expression. And that's exactly what I did with art, and that's exactly what I feel when I paint. It's another medium of expression that makes me feel connected, makes me let go what I don't want to have and take in what I want to have. And that's such a beautiful feeling. And that's how I started this whole series of Embracing Serenity. And it is called Embracing, obviously, because I am a kind of a person who doesn't believe in not taking care of your own feelings. I believe that every feeling emotionally that we have, we should take a look into it, maybe understand it, or even try to understand it. If not, if you didn't understand, it's alright. But in the end, do not discard it. Listen to it. Listen to the feeling that you have inside yourself. Embrace it, feel it, And maybe there's a way to express. For me, yes, there's a way to express. I express it using art. And then the most beautiful thing happened. So July. The month of July is very special for me. I have no clue why, but it's somehow very special for me. And I decided, of course it was also the World Watercolor Month, and I decided, let's explore some things, let's explore some colors, which I usually use them in landscapes. Let's explore them to connect to the feelings that I have, to find out what resonates to me the more, to find out where can I embrace the serenity from which part of these colors can I start transforming. But beautifully, I was happy and excited that the first palette that I created with was amazing. It had purple, it had gold, a light touch of yellow. It was amazing. It was so amazing that I felt connected to myself back immediately with those colors. Because for me somehow it depicted a lot of the woman feeling in me, the girl feeling in me. Like the gorgeousness, the calmness, the peaceness, they're all somehow connected in that palette. But then came the second palette, or I think it was the third palette, was the one with the greens. Surprisingly, it took a whole different challenge for me. It gave me a completely different perspective because I started off with green as a third palette, which is my favorite color. My favorite color is green because green always makes me feel happy. I'm sitting with a green pillow right now, but it's beautiful, it makes me feel happy, and my favorite green is olive green. I started with that, but surprisingly I couldn't create. I could paint, but there was nothing beautiful coming out of it. That was a surprise for me, because naturally with the favorite color of mine, with the understanding that I have with the color, with the feelings, the emotions that I use to transform them into a paper or into art, with that green color it should have been naturally very easy, but that's not what happened. What happened was extreme difficulty, extremely challenging, but I loved it. So what happened was extremely challenging, and that was a surprise for me because I took a step back. I was curious to know why it was so challenging. That even more made me realize that it might be the state of disconnected feeling that I have in my mind. It might be the state of not being at peace. It might be the state of my mind that's wavering, not stable. Might be the one that's the cause. So it made more sense to me that when the challenge was made harder to me, or when the challenge became more harder to me, it made more sense to me that how disconnected I was. And that's how I see it. I cannot throw away that experience, because that made me realize that yes, I am actually disconnected to myself. Well, I keep those pieces with me. Moving on, I did another palette, which is a pink, which usually I don't use, but that also connected to me. And I also did another palette, which was a bit of a bronze, a bit of a red, a bit of green in there again, trying out if I could make sense. But what happened is, as somebody said, you go into the month in one way, and you come out of the month completely different. And that's exactly what happened in July. I went in imagining or thinking that I could do 15 different palettes, 20 days, 2 per day, 2 paintings for each palette, and have a successful exploration. That's how I went in to July. By end of July, I came out as a complete different person. I did just 3 or 4 palettes. I could make 5 paintings. They're all gorgeous. plus the 2 which didn't make it. That's amazing. Plus I decided the color palette that would go into the collection, to the Embracing Serenity collection. And the most valuable thing for me was that I made the experience, I made the exploration, I understood myself, I embraced my feelings, understood how disconnected I was to myself more concretely. The month before that I was feeling it, but I was not sure what I was feeling at all. Was it right or wrong? Well, eventually there's no right or wrong, but I did realize the disconnected feeling that I have, the overwhelming feeling that I have, and how much difficult was it for me to express those feelings even when I had my favorite color in hand. That was an amazing experience. I wouldn't exchange anything for that 1 month of experience. It's only 1 month, but it's amazing. I can talk about it the whole time, but let's move on. Let's move on and see what happens next. So then, after the beautiful experience in July, I fixed 6 colors, 6 beautiful colors, which are not natural colors. It's just not the red, green, the blue, or so on, but variant shades of these natural colors. Like I have dusty pink, I have olive green, I have ivory white, antique gold, and I have purple, a variant of purple, and of course I have earthy tones. Earthy tones meaning earthy wooden tones. And the reason I have all these are the colors that makes me wind down. It emits the energy that allows me to wind down to the peaceful state of mind that I'm in today. Right? And that's beautiful. So I have these 6 shades that I fixed or decided to keep as my palette for the Embracing Serenity collection. And that's done. After that, moving on, I also had to decide how many paintings would I make. It's important, right? Because when you make a collection, you can make 5, 10, 20, not 100, because you're definitely an artist. You have your own sweet time of expression. You have creative flow going on, but there are times that you cannot create for many reasons, or it could also be that your energy is in a different direction or is focused on something different. And the decision that I had was 12 paintings, 6 of them on canvases. I love canvases. I'm a huge fan of canvases. Whether it's cotton, whether it's linen, they're beautiful. I think the best invention in the whole world for me is the canvas. And yeah, so then I decided 12 pieces, out of which I would do 6 on a canvas of different sizes, and the rest 6 would be on paper. Of course, the paper that is meant for acrylic. So I do a lot of mixed medium. I prefer that because I feel acrylic or watercolor or pastel alone cannot make the expression that I want to have. Like sometimes you need these contours that connects to myself, and these contours are beautifully made with oil pastels. I need textures. Texture symbolizes a lot of feelings in me. Texture symbolizes a lot of high energy in me, happiness, and yes, I need texture material for that. So of course, they go on heavy paper, which has to have textures. And I also feel an artwork has to be felt, like with touch. And textures make you have that feeling. So when you go through them, you can touch them. Well, usually you shouldn't be touching an artwork, you could destroy them. but that's not what I have in mind, or that's not the kind of paintings that I make. I like people to touch through them and feel them, and maybe that emits the energy that I wanted to convey to them, or that's what I want to have. When you feel the artwork, not visually, not just visually, but also your sense, right? Sense of touching. That makes it unique because you can absorb more than what you actually can, right? And that means, now I'm summarizing it up, it's 12 paintings, 6 on board, framed, 12 on paper, 6 on paper, again framed, ready to hang, all ready, all set, is what I have in mind, what I had in mind, and that's what I'm working towards. Now that I have 12 paintings, or 12 pieces of artwork, I would rather call it 12 pieces of artwork, because they are not just a painting to me, they are more than paintings. There's medium, mixed medium in there, there's a lot of expression in there. And now that I have 12 in mind, I had to get to work. Well, everything is done. Now let's start working. Let's start painting. I call painting, I call making art as my work. And I started with, of course, the technique of blending on water, on medium, on water. That has its own uniqueness. There are actually two things about it. One is you get to see the flow of how the blend happens. Two, you also need to know how to control the flow. Water is not that easy to control when it's just lying on a plain board. It's difficult. And when you put medium onto it, when you put pigment, when you put color onto it, it has a free flow. Now what is important for you here, for me here, it's not only to see the free flowing blending colors, but also to restrict a little bit so that they are beautifully made into artworks. And they're beautifully made into the emotions that I have in that paintings. It's hard. It's not that easy. When I talk about it, it sounds very complicated. But I think when I'm in that creative energy, in my studio, when I do this creation, there is nothing called as being difficult. It just happens. It's this energy that the universe somehow transfers into me, and I flow it onto the paper, onto the canvases, and it just happens beautifully. I realized the first two pieces were completely in chaos. It represents my chaotic mind. I could see how my hands flowed through the paint, how I could move around with the colors, with the free-flowing colors in the medium. But I didn't use much of brushes on it because it was more expression with my hands at work. And I could see how chaotic my mind was. So initially the first couple of pieces, so the first two plus a paper, was more chaotic. The blend was clear. The blend had its own distinctions and was very clear that nothing was aligned in that painting. Moving on, I did further. I took the second and the third pieces, or rather not the second, but the third and the fourth pieces. I'm talking about the boards now. By the time I started this, I actually had transformed a little bit. I was amazed to see how much my mind had already changed by expressing chaos, letting them go onto the medium, and starting a new painting or artwork. And with these next set of paintings, I found equilibrium in me, a balance that I had to reach. which I want to reach always, which is just an intermediate stage for me. The balance that I have is a complete intermediate stage for me. And I reached that. And I reached that by the time I finished the 6th painting. And they represent the state of balance, the state of equilibrium that my mind and the environment that I'm in, the energy that I have in me, the chaotic energy, the energy that makes me feel serene. I'm getting there. I knew I'm getting there. But there was this intermediate phase, and these paintings depict the intermediate phase. Alright, so we've reached equilibrium. That's a good state to be in. But well, that's not where I love to be in. I love to be in a much higher state than equilibrium. A higher state of being self-aware, the higher state of being objective sometimes, emotionally strong. That doesn't mean that I neglect my emotions. It just means that I know how to deal with them. Or rather, I wouldn't even call it dealing with them. I would rather say I know how to embrace them, go through it, and make peace with it. And that's not just a state of balance. It's a deepening journey. It's a journey that puts you in the deepest of yourself. And that's how the next 3 pieces came into life. They depict growth to yourself, into myself. They depict deepened journey. The journey continues. It's not the end. These collections are not the end of my life. This is just a transformation of being disconnected to being connected to myself. And I have the last piece, which collects them together. So I start from chaos, and I move on to a state of equilibrium. And then I come back to the state of peaceful mind that I've had, that I've always had, feeling connected. And that's also, again, I come back to a step ahead of that, which is growth, which also means a journey that is deeper than being at peaceful state of mind. Serenity is a huge word, it's a massive word, and I always relate it to my grandmother. The word is her. I have no other definition for her. I have no other definition for the word. It's just the same. And feeling this elevated, serene feeling in me, this emotion, keeps me calm, keeps me to myself, and keeps me all the way I am able to express the gratitude that I have, the state that I've reached in my life. There's nothing that I can avoid in this whole state, right? It's everything. It's from day, I don't know when, day 0, or maybe earlier, to today, that all the experience, everything has put me into what I am. And this whole journey from realizing that I've disconnected to coming to the state of being connected, transforming the entire transformational journey with the help of expression makes a wonderful experience. And what I bring to you with this whole collection is this amazing experience that I've gone through in a few months, translated into colors, blending of colors and other medium, onto a canvas, onto a couple of canvases and a few papers, and set in their environment in a way that you get to experience this whole collection. So that's embracing serenity for you.